Hi, my name is Leandro Facchinetti, and let's write some code together, shall we? What we have on the menu today is part 5, and we are working on caxa, a package that I am developing to package Node.js applications into a single executable binary. This week we have been working on adding ARM support, so you can use caxa in Raspberry Pis, for instance. And with me, for the third time this week, very generous with his time and expertise, I have Matt. How are you doing, Matt?
I'm doing pretty well today. My day is just getting started, basically.
Oh yeah, my is ending.
Yeah.
So since yesterday, you did some work, right?
Yeah, a little bit
You
of work.
Yeah, so you pushed a few changes, two commits to our GitHub Actions configuration here. And
Mhm.
what have you been up to?
So first I added the test in the ARM architectures using Docker, and then the other one is I just put in a template of a different way we could do the release, but it's not necessarily better. It's just a different way.
Okay, so do you
And
want to
it's up to you
start
what you
with the
wanted.
test or do you want to start with the release?
Let's start with the test because that should be pretty straightforward. So basically, all I did was find the appropriate images for Node, and I pinned them at version 16. We could, in the future, make it a matrix that tested on different versions of Node, but I figured you would want 16. We could easily change that too. And
Yeah, on Intel we are testing. Where is it? It's after build, so test. Yes, on Intel we are testing. Huh, look at
whatever
that.
they,
Yeah,
yeah,
we
whatever
have
they
here the
decide.
Node version, but we have not specified a Node version.
Oh, we missed that.
Before,
That's a copy pot. Yeah.
yes, it is. But before we started copy and pasting stuff, we had 14, 15, and 16. So
Yeah.
if we only run, I think that this is the major test suite. So if this
Yeah.
passes, we can, I guess we could just test on 16 for ARM and it should be okay. How do you feel about that?
I think to keep the scope of the PR small, it would be good to just test on 16 for now, and it would be pretty easy to extend that in the future.
I agree. And we will have to come back to Intel and fix that mistake. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so now you found some Docker images
Mm-hmm.
that, again, so on the Go images, ARM32 was Alpine only, and in Node.js,
Mm-hmm.
it's the same story. And I guess it's because it's the same people
Yeah,
behind both images, right?
yeah. I have a suspicion that Debian is dropping ARM6 support, but I'm not 100% certain about that, and that might be the reason why they switched to Alpine.
And do you know what the Raspberry Pi Foundation will do about it? Because their operating system is still Debian based. They have renamed it, but it's still Debian based,
Yeah,
right?
it's just I don't know that for sure. I'm just suspicious of that. Let me look it up real quick.
Okay, but in any
ARM6.
case, that's just out
Yeah,
of curiosity. Because for our purposes, as long as there is an image that works, it's fine.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, especially since we're statically compiling, it doesn't matter if we're using Alpine or Debian.
Yeah, it matters on the tests because we will try to test native extensions if they're not too
Oh yeah,
slow
that.
to compile. And then the native extensions may
Yeah,
not have support for Alpine and they will compile from scratch. So we would need a bigger image, one that has all the compilers and build tools for C and C++, but also we
yeah,
would have to wait for that compilation to happen.
yeah. That's a good point. I wasn't thinking about that.
But I think
But
that this
in any
test
case,
is
the
a
test
best
is
effort
failing.
basis anyway,
So
so should be fine.
yeah.
So that's part one. And did you change anything else here on this job?
Um. So when you go to the Docker command, I renamed the binary in the Docker image because I couldn't remember if we decided if the npm CI would actually overwrite the new binary we want to test. So I thought it would be
It would.
safest to do the install, then rename the binary to the one we generated, and then run the test. And that's it.
Yes. everything you said is correct. And in fact, this is similar to what we have for Intel.
Yeah, I lifted it from the x64, yeah.
Which is somewhere.
Yeah.
Where is it? Test, x64, right here.
Mm.
Okay, so this is the test on Linux, ARM. And what about the release?
So for the release, all I did was I also catted the Checksum, because you do want the Checksum to be in the log. Otherwise, you could upload your own. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, this line is the source of the trust.
Right. Yeah, so, but I didn't do much to it because we need to consider how we're going to rename the files. So all I did was really think about that, but it's ultimately your decision how you want to do it. Because right now we have a bunch of directories that all have the same file name in it. And now we have to decide how to differentiate those files on the release page.
I guess we'll just give them different names. The same thing we are doing on the GitHub Actions assets. Artifacts.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know what the issue is? They both start with an A. Artifacts and assets, they both start with an A. That's what's messing me up.
Right, that makes sense.
Okay, so I was thinking about naming things. And I think that there is something we can change that is very easy to change and that will solve many problems. It's a naming problem. Okay, so problems are when you install caxa, or maybe when you run it the first time, but in any case, when you use caxa, it downloads the stub. And how do we update the stub when you update the package? And how do we delete the stub when we delete the package? Well, we would have to write some code to do it because we are putting the stub in the node modules bin directory. So now this is our child. We have to take care of it. But I had an idea. What if instead we put this in node modules caxa and then whatever name we want to give it? Now, what's interesting about doing this is that now this is in the package folder. If you update, then NPM will take care of deleting this folder before it updates. And if you delete or if you uninstall caxa, again, NPM will take care of deleting this folder for you. So we get all these nice properties of update and deletion and not cluttering the bin directory. So that's another concern, that when you are making the package, you want to clean everything that will not be useful in production. So you would have, or actually we as the maintainers of caxa would have to make sure that we delete the stub, because otherwise the stub would be in your final binary. It's not a big deal. It's 2 or 3 megabytes and node projects tend to be in the hundreds, but still, it would be nice to clean that up. But if we put this in the caxa directory, then we could do some simple prune production, npm prune production, that takes care of all the packages that are dev dependencies and uninstalls all of them. So just by doing that, we would get rid of this directory and get rid of the stub. So with all these, I can only see advantages of doing this.
Sure.
There's one more, actually. When you have something in the .bin directory, you are able to run it with like npx, for instance. Let's say in this project, I have things like dependencies of dependencies. These are not things that I installed necessarily, but they are all here, all the binaries. So you can do things like npx just to run the tests, because it looks at this path. But it makes absolutely no sense to try to run this stub. So this is kind of misleading that it's there. So I know it was me who came up with this idea of putting this here, but I think it's a bad idea. And what I propose instead is that we just let the stub be in the top of the caxa directory. So when you're developing on caxa, you would have a stub right here along with your README.
Right.
Just to keep things simple, we could put it on a directory, we could put it on the lib folder, we could put it under a stubs folder, but I think it's better to just let it sit on the root. I mean, I see no reason not to do that.
I agree.
And then when you install from npm, you will not get a stub, but we will have something, either a install script in npm, or we'll have something when you run the first time. At some point, we will download and we will put it on the node modules caxa directory. And I maintain that we should name the stub with a fixed name. I don't think that there is any advantage to putting the architecture and the platform on the stub name. But I could be convinced otherwise.
Right. So I think in the workflow, I was thinking about this renaming, and it might make sense to rename it in the workflow after you generate it. And then when we go to test it, you just download the one with the right name you want and just rename it to the caxa stub and then run the test. So it would be run generate the same way, then a next line move caxa stub to caxa stub Linux, whatever. And then that would be uploaded as an artifact. And then you would download the caxa stub -Linux and then rename that to caxa stub when you want to test it.
Isn't that what we are doing?
No. What we are doing is making separate artifacts for each of them. So we're basically putting the name on the zip file for the artifact rather than the name on the binary itself. And that way, if the files have different names, you can put it all to the same artifact, and then you can just extract one single zip file for all the artifacts. So it just simplifies the workflow. We wouldn't have those hard-coded extract artifacts in the release part.
Specifically these lines.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can just download one artifact and it had everything.
I can see the advantage of doing that. So
yeah.
So let's do it. I don't have any changes now, but I have fetched all your changes, so I'm in a good state to start slicing this. So everywhere where we see node modules bin caxa stub, we instead will have, oh, you know what? I'm going to be a good citizen. I'm going to start with this, because this is the command that you can run easily on your machine to build your stub. So I'll start here so I don't forget it. And what we are doing here is just calling this stub. And I can test this on my machine by saying npm run build stub. Also, I will on my machine. It doesn't really matter, but I will get rid of our previous stub. Oh, there wasn't any in there. Okay. So this ran and it produced a stub right here. And I think it's a good practice for us to put this in the gitignore because it is like lib. Yes. It's a generated file. And I believe when we say npm publish, not in package.json, here, when we say npm publish, I think that npm publish respects your .gitignore, so it will not push whatever stub we have left over. I don't think we will have any at this point.
Well, npm publish also doesn't download the artifacts, so it wouldn't even be aware of them.
Yeah, but npm CI, if we decide to have an install script that downloads the artifact,
if it pulls them, yeah.
It may be there.
Okay, I understand now.
We haven't decided that part yet. It's not written in stone. So in any case, I think everything will just fall out. And so we have changes to the gitignore and to the package.json. And that much is working. I just proved that it's working. So I'm going to commit this. Now let's go to the main YAML file. And most of this, I think, will stand. So I guess I can just rename this. But I want to be cautious and look at this on a case-by-case, just to be sure that I'm not introducing anything weird. So these two definitely go to stub. That's the equivalent change we just did on the package.json. And then this one, that's the one you want to change.
So No, so in the run command, I want another command that changes the name of the stub.
Yeah, and to do that, I guess we can just do it right here when we are
Yeah, we
producing the
could, but
stub.
it wouldn't reflect the pack or the package.json command. That's what you wanted to begin with, was to have the same command.
Well, I think this ship has sailed. We don't have the same
Okay,
command.
that's fair.
We have a command that is equivalent in spirit, and anytime you change one, you must remember to change the other. But they are running in different ways because of the
That is
parts I
true. Yeah.
highlighted.
Okay.
And yeah, alternatively, we could have a script that is called both from here and from here. I mean, like a
Yeah.
bash script or something. But I don't want to do that, do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
So we'll just copy and paste stuff. So at this point, I think we can just put whatever name we want here. And I guess that would be the name we want.
Yes. I would agree with that.
And then at this point, we just say what the path is. So the path would be something like this.
Yeah. So you want the name to be something simple, and it should be the same. Yeah, stubs for everything. So every one of those stubs will get uploaded to that single artifact.
Yes. That looks good to me.
Don't forget to change the name on the appendage. Like when you're doing echo caxa caxa caxa, you have to change the name. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this looks good. Also,
Okay.
here we will have, yes, these occurrences will change. They will now be stub, Darwin, ARM64. I was off by one.
That's a classic problem in programming.
And then this becomes that, and we upload to stubs.
Yes.
Let's go to the next occurrences. And now we are on the ARM for Linux. So here we'll have stub Linux, and then we have a variable that has this information. It is
architecture.
the architecture. I forgot to say matrix.
Yeah.
And then we have a similar story down here. So this will be stubs, and this will be the path I copied. Now when testing, we will download the whole artifact, which has all the stubs in there. That's what we are doing at this point. So here we download the stubs.
Yes.
And this will produce all the stubs in the current directory, or will it produce a stubs directory containing all the stubs?
I think the former, I believe it should be the current directory. Yeah, I'm.
You're going to say.
And then we have to pick the right one.
Oh, we are on.
Intel, that one's for x64. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll copy from here instead. And remember, at this point, we are in development mode. So I'll not put this under node modules cache. I am the node module cache at this point. So I do just this, and then I npm test. Okay, I'm comfortable with this. I think this is what we want. And we were just discussing that there was a mistake on this part. So maybe we can take this opportunity and fix it if it was quick. The node version stuff. So
yes, that.
Node version 14, 15, 16.
Right.
And just that, I think just by doing this, it will work, right? It will do the cross product of both.
I think so.
I don't know how these are called parameters in the strategies.
Yeah, matrix elements. I don't know.
Vectors.
Sure.
I mean, if this is a matrix, then each one
Yeah,
is
exactly.
a vector, and we are doing the cross product of the vectors. You are a physicist. I shouldn't talk like this to you.
No, that's okay. I'm just glad people know about it.
I'm sure I will embarrass myself. So now we are on test Linux ARM. I'll go to the build Linux ARM to grab this part.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll have a similar trick, except that it's down here, and then we move to stub.
Mm-hmm.
And we have some
then...
left over here that I think we can delete.
Yes, yeah, I just left it in there to show where it came from. We do have to download the right artifact, though. The stubs artifact rather than the stub dash dash, yeah.
And then on the release, now we get to simplify. So we are going to download the artifact with the name stubs. And then we can delete everything else.
Mm-hmm.
We should upload the checksums to their respective artifacts.
So for this, now we don't have to go in all these directories. We can just do, well, now they're going to be sitting on the root directory.
But they are all conveniently named stub dash dash.
Sorry, what was that?
They are all conveniently named stub dash dash, so we can say caxa.
Oh, right, yeah.
Oh, and this was the command that I ran on my machine, and I think that's not a Linux command. I think that's a BSD command.
It actually works on Linux too. I checked.
Okay, awesome. So this will produce. So stub dash dash star will produce the checksum txt, and we definitely want to cat this file.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you want to be fancy?
Sure. Sure, we can do that.
Did I get it right?
Redirect for T? I don't think you need the arrow for T. I think you just give it the file name.
See, now I'm embarrassing myself, but I don't really remember this. So I will echo some stuff like hello, and I will pipe it to T, and I will generate hello.txt. I expect to see this on the terminal, but also on hello.txt. So yes, you're right. We don't need the pipe redirect, and this is the fancy way of doing that.
Sure.
All right.
Just flexing. So we can get rid of the... Yeah, exactly. Don't worry, I have to look up batch stuff all the time. So now we can use this next step to actually upload the checksum back up to the artifact that we had. So that if it were like a master, or if you were on a branch, you could see the checksums as well as the rest of the binaries.
I mean, they will be in the logs, but yes, it's also convenient to have that as an artifact. In fact, it is fundamental that they are in the logs because that's our source of trust. And as I mentioned previously on the stream, GitHub will clean the artifacts from the build from time to time, but I don't think it will clean the logs. So that
I don't know about that. Yeah. You do have to change the name on the path, though, since you changed it to checksum.txt.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to name it checksums? I see you have checksums here.
Yeah, because it's a list of them.
Yes. Also, I think that we need to upload this because on the release, we want to embed this. If it's a tag, we want to embed this in the NPM package. So that's how we transfer this information from... hang on, what's going on here? This is the release. This is... Oh, yeah, so yeah, right. This is how we transfer the release to NPM publish. Okay.
So if you want to do that, it might make more sense to have the checksum in a different artifact so that the npm publish job only pulls the checksum. Or you could delete all the stubs after you download the stubs artifact in the publish. But it's up to you.
When we have the GitHub Actions window and we see two artifacts, we can download just the the checksums,
Sure.
whatever, really. But in
Yeah.
any case, I think this comment is stale. We should upload the checksums. We are doing
Yes.
that.
Yeah, we just did that.
And then upload artifacts. We are uploading the checksums with the name checksums and the path. Next, we will... Okay, so this is not something that should only run on the tags. I mean, this part specifically that is doing the checksum.
That is true.
I mean, does it really matter? Not really, because if you're not on a tag, we won't publish an npm package.
So what we could do is just take the if out on the first job, or the first if, or yeah. So then it would run each of the steps, and then the steps we don't want to run will have the same if. So it'll do the checksums, and then it won't make the release page, and it won't publish. But the release job itself at the very top will still run.
Yeah, if we were to do that, I would even argue that we should maybe have a job that is dedicated to doing the checksum. But my point here is, what is the value in having the checksum on something that is not a release?
In case you want like beta testers to come try something on a specific commit, they can verify it with the checksums there as well.
They can.
It's good to be consistent.
I don't see too much value in doing that. But since it seems like you care about this, we'll split the difference. I will do the checksum on every commit, or
sure.
every push rather, but we'll do it on a separate job. So checksums. I think that is it. There is also a nice consequence.
You still need to upload them, right?
Yes. There is a nice consequence that now we are no longer checking out the code, so we don't need to be careful about the name of the files. There should be only the files we just extracted in this directory.
Right.
And I don't think we need the quotes. We were not using quotes
not for
before.
That one.
So, okay, checksums. It depends on running the tests. No, it doesn't really. It doesn't depend on running the tests. It depends on building.
That's true. Yeah. You just want to make sure that the release depends on the tests.
Correct. So release still depends on what it depends. It now also depends on checksums.
Right.
And this one only runs on tags, runs on Ubuntu latest. The steps are, we will need to download the artifacts because we are going to put them in the GitHub release. We don't need to do this part, but we do need to continue here with this part.
Yeah, but you do need to download the checksum if you want that to be in the release as well.
Correct. So we will have nothing of that, but we'll have some download artifact checksums.
Right.
Okay.
And now we just need to change the file names. And that'll pretty much be it.
You mean these file names?
Yes, those file names.
Mm-hmm. So now we need to rename all the files before uploading this way. Yes, we are doing that right now. We don't need this because we have it.
Yeah, don't need that anymore.
And they were different. They were very subtly different because this had a V in there, so you could create a tag that did not start with a V and it would not create a release. The V, if you are interested, I know you are mainly a Python developer, but NPM has this NPM version. And then you can pass to it major, minor, and patch, and it will update the package JSON file, create a git tag, and of course create a commit and create a git tag, and then it puts a V in the beginning of the tag.
Okay.
So now we are looking at this, and I don't think that this is the action that allows you to do this, right? We need to use a different action.
Yeah, it's the soft prop one. How did that change?
I changed it. I was talking about
Oh,
something and I
okay.
changed it just
Oh, okay.
because I was making an argument and I didn't change it back.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
do you know how I
that
can search for
other
this?
old one, it's soft props.
Soft
Uh,
props. That one.
yeah, yeah. So I found this because that older one under the actions repository is actually outdated. They archived the repository and told me to use this instead.
Ah, that's so interesting.
Hmm.
I cannot not even find it anymore. Huh. GitHub Actions to uh, release asset. That one, archived.
Yep.
How come? That makes no sense.
I don't know. Maybe it's because the new repository is just better and they didn't want to maintain it.
But
Maybe.
it
I don't
seems
know.
like this would be crucial for the platform.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Good catch. I am still using the old one
Mhm.
on my stuff.
Yeah, I
So,
think it'll still work for now, but who knows in the future.
yeah. So files, we want... No, actually, it's not like this. I think all these names are wrong
Yeah,
at
they're
this
all
point.
from the old way to do it. Yeah.
And you're making this a draft, but I'm comfortable making this
Right.
the real thing. So
Okay,
now
that's fine.
we'll have Windows x64 and then Mac OS, no, Darwin and Linux. We'll
I think it's
also have...
Win32,
Oh, yes,
not
it is.
Windows.
I
Yeah.
keep making this mistake. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that is it.
Is
Oh
there a
no, it's
glob?
a stub dash dash. It's a stub dash dash. Yeah, there is a blob. You could do.
Could we do this? Because all the files we downloaded we care about.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. Of course, we can always just try.
Yeah. And then
That was the old way, but we're not going to use that. All the commented stuff.
okay, so this is going to both create the release and
Hmm.
upload the files all at once.
Yes. Yeah,
Awesome.
exactly.
In the previous actions, I think you had to create a release first, and that would output a path to which you
Yeah.
would upload stuff. So the
Yeah,
new one is
exactly.
a lot better. Is it safe for me to get rid of everything in here? I think it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Okay.
was just in case you wanted to try that.
Okay. So now this needs to download the checksums. So here we have a checkout, we have setup node, and we have no download. We can copy and paste the
Mhm.
download from up here.
Yes,
That was
exactly.
near. I didn't need to split. That was very near. So I will do all the setup stuff, and then I will do this. So this will download the stubs. This will download the checksums. And now we have an issue.
Uh,
This we don't.
yeah, we
Do we
don't
need
want
to?
the stubs.
We don't want the stubs, but
Hmm.
we do want the checksums.
Hmm.
And I think this
Do
is
you want
it.
to keep them in the root?
The checksums file?
Yeah,
Sure, why not?
sure.
Right?
Keeps it simple.
Yeah. Okay. I want to test all this in a more realistic environment.
Hmm.
First issue I see is that my prettier here is telling me that I have a syntax error in my YAML, so I will now create another buffer here on the right. Buffer. This is my old Emacs ways speaking.
Hmm.
So the mistake was not in that half. Oh no, indentation will be all messed up. You know what? I think I should.
Yeah. I usually just go to yamllint.org and just paste into there, so it's completely different. Or not .org, maybe it's .com. No, YAML-lint.
Oh, okay. YAML lint on Google. It's .com.
.com.
Go. Line 164. Okay, it doesn't like the star.
The star. Yeah.
And that fixes everything. Prettier is happy now, so this should be YAML. It's always difficult to know whether something is YAML.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Did you ever run into this where you have something like, let's say you have countries like English, and then you have something, and then you have Portuguese, and then you have something, and then you have Norway, and then you have something. Did you run into this issue before?
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah, no in YAML means false. So this is a map of false maps to this string, depending on your YAML parser. That, I think, is my favorite. What a clusterfuck.
The one I run into the most is having colons and strings when they're not quoted, and then it thinks you're trying to put a key in a key, and then
for a moment I thought that the dot on the checksums.txt was the thing that was going to make us run into the error. What's interesting is that the star was not fine, but when it appears in a string, it's fine.
I guess it just can't be at the start.
Yeah. So, Fernando Imperator. I may be butchering your name. I'm sorry. Leandro, I'm loving your auto mixer for Reaper. Thank you for that. Oh, thank you. Thanks for joining us here today. And we are doing something that is Reaper related, but very indirectly, because there is a bridge between Reaper and OBS that allows you to record video in Reaper. And that one depends on a command line utility that is packaged using the thing we are packaging, the thing we're developing right now. Okay, his name is in Portuguese, so it's Fernando Imperator. I thought it was Spanish. Okay, so everything in here seems to fly. But before I push this, I don't want to waste time during our long builds. The builds are slow now. So I want to take advantage of everything we can do here. So I thought I could fake some tests. Because if I run npm test, I'm even afraid of running this because it will blow up so hard. But we could just make a fake test that will pass and that will not use any of the infrastructure. We may just like check that the stub is in place or something.
Sure.
So instead of running this, it's running, it's slow, but instead of doing that, we are going to do something else. We are going to come here to before all. I don't think we want before all. So I guess the simplest way of doing this is something like this. We'll take the file, we'll move it out of the directory so it doesn't get picked up by... No, we don't want to update any imports. And we'll put a new file in here that will be index test ts, because if there are no tests, then just complaints. But we can do something real quick, which is like test GitHub actions or whatever. And then we can say expect true to be true. Now this test will pass. Let's check.
I can at least read that.
And we could do something more interesting, slightly more interesting. We could run something that would cat the file, or at least check that the file is there. So we'll do that. So we'll import fx from fx extra, and we expect await. So now we have to make this async. Await fx exists of. Oh, it seems like this is not happy. This is deprecated, so I will use the one that is not deprecated. I know that the sync version is not deprecated. And I'm going to test that. I'm going to look at the name of the directory in which we are right now. We are in the source directory.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to, from path import, import path from path, and then I'm going to path join. This shenanigans is may be necessary for Windows that has a different separator for directories. It may not be necessary, I don't know. But in any case, we'll look at the current directory, one level up, stub, so we expect the file to exist. And then when we come here and delete this stub, the test will fail.
Awesome.
Excellent. So we can commit this. And now we can really run the tests for real, which is already what we are doing. We are running the tests for real. And they should all pass, right? So we should commit this, and we should push this and wait for green dots all over.
Right. And I can put another tag on my fork based on that if you want to try the release as well. Since we expect this to work.
Yeah. I mean, one thing we can do to test the release, that's a fine point, and one thing we can do to test the release is just we can comment out this part so it doesn't go to npm. Everything else can happen.
I also don't have an npm token in my repository, so it should fail there. Right, it needs the secret. There's no way for mine to be able to push to your actual.
I mean, we can always push to my version of the repository, but I wonder what would happen if it would notice that it's me, the owner of the original pushing.
Well, so these secrets are something that the maintainer of the repository puts in, and I don't have access to that secret that you manually put in.
I know, but it was the maintainer. So I am not a contributor on your fork, but still I am able to push to it because I am the maintainer of the project which you forked.
Right.
So that privilege could extend to GitHub Actions. I don't know. I have never tried.
Well, as far as I know, they don't share secrets between them. So
yeah, it shouldn't work, but it may. In any case, let's think about what we need to do to test this. I can push a tag to my version. It doesn't matter. So I guess I can just copy this line so we'll remember it. We'll leave a to-do here. And then we npm CI button publish. So this is the most realistic we can get, right?
Sure.
And it's saying here that we need to download the checksums. So we might as well remove this because we are downloading the checksums.
Yeah, that's true.
And you know what? Instead of doing npm CI, I'll do npm CI and find dot, so we can at least look at everything that is in there.
Sure.
Oh, so Felipe knows the answer. Thanks for joining us today, Felipe. And secrets are not shared. So this, what will happen? Will it not run at all because it knows that it needs the secret, or does it run and fail?
Well, it will try. Yeah, it should run and fail.
Okay. So I will now commit, but I will not push to your version. I will create a tag and push specifically to mine.
You can go ahead and push it to mine, and I'll just create a tag on mine, so we don't have to dirty the main repo.
I can always clean things up later. It's no big deal. I can delete some releases and then delete some tags. But I guess this would work fine because it would get the GitHub token from your version.
Right. Yeah, it's been making it on my version. So secrets.github token is just a default. And every action has access to the owner of the repo it runs on.
Yeah, so all of these should go on a tag, and it doesn't really matter where we push it. It should just work.
Yeah.
So everything in here I'm happy with, and I will create a tag that I will call V, and then 2.0.0 beta 1. Yeah, Felipe is mentioning that we don't want to accidentally push to npm, because the thing about GitHub is that we can always delete stuff from there. We can delete tags, we can delete GitHub releases, but npm is immutable. It is possible but very hard to remove stuff right as you push it, but if you wait long enough, then you will never be able to remove it. You can always deprecate it, but you can never remove it because of left pad. Do you know this story? It made its rounds on the internet. So someone had a name on npm. It was the left pad project. It was one function that would left pad your string.
Right.
And then some company claimed a name of another package by the same owner, and npm, the company, granted the name because it was the company name. So they took the name from this guy and gave it to someone else, and the guy was pissed off, so he removed all his packages from npm, and half of the internet depended on leftpad. Indirectly, of course. So everything broke.
Right.
Fun story. In any case, I was creating a tag, but I did not push the tag. So I'll push the tag, and I will push to your, if you don't mind. If I can,
sure.
I don't know if I don't know if it will work, but git push max b to v 2.0.0 beta 1. Meanwhile, we can.
That would be interesting if you could actually push a tag to my fork. I wonder if you being able to push to that branch extends to making tags.
Oh yeah, I am not able to push a tag.
Yeah, if you want to just push that commit, then I'll make a tag real quick.
I am pushing the commit, but I'm afraid that it will halt this GitHub action execution, which would be some time loss. So it appears that it finished. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's done.
Oh, okay. It was still yellow on my side, so it looks yellow, but it's finished. Okay, yeah. It's green now.
Sometimes these things are a bit laggy.
And I have pushed everything, and now you are pushing a tag.
All right.
So the artifacts look okay. Everything is a green dot. I am surprised. I'm delighted. I am super happy with this. Okay, Felipe said that actions run in parallel, but to be able to push this so that Matt can push a tag, I pushed to the same branch. So it could stop the old build because it was on the same branch. I could have created a branch before pushing, but I didn't. But in any case, this has finished. I really like this graph. I really like how GitHub shows this.
So yeah, me too.
I want to double check. I want to make sure that everything in here makes sense. So we are building an ARM x64 and Darwin ARM all independently. Then the test on Linux only depends on the build on Linux, and the test on 64 only depends on the build 64. The checksum depends on all three builds, and the release depends on the tests and also on the checksums, and npm publish depends on the release. That looks exactly right to me. And what are we looking at here? We want to look at the output from the tests, for instance. We should see the test saying that the stub is in place. The stub should exist.
There you go. We did it.
We're almost there. We are almost there. When this is done, we are over, right?
I think so, yeah. That's pretty much all the GitHub infrastructure stuff. Then it's just you putting in how to detect the architecture how to build the right, or how to download the right binary and more tests. I think that would pretty much sum up all the ARM stuff.
Yeah. Stay tuned for next week when I will be doing the
Yeah.
TypeScript part. And now we are looking at this output from this tag, because the
And
difference
it
will
did
be
do
these two.
the cross product correctly.
Oh, yeah. That's also a good point. It's testing on all these things. Now this is slow. How long did it take for the other one to finish? 10 minutes, not bad. It was taking 10 minutes yesterday. Oh, no. It took 5 minutes. It was 9 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
That is fast. What's going on? Yesterday we were having longer build times. No,
Were we?
we're not.
Or maybe we were just
seeing
building
10
a bunch of
minutes.
them and getting confused.
Okay. Test 52. Do we have tests up to 51?
Yeah. The iterating this stuff sucks, which is why I didn't want you to pull the tags from my work.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, make sure you delete those tags before you push on your branch.
Yeah, I guess I will always just do it the way I did it, or try to.
Mhm.
Right here, I will say git push origin, and then the name of the tag.
And then a specific one. Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's usually what I do anyway, because I am always afraid. I never know
That's
when
fair.
I'm just testing things out. Sometimes I create tags and I don't remember to delete them.
Yeah, the worst is when I'm using someone else's project. I'm working on my fork, and I do a git fetch upstream, and they have a new tag on the upstream, and I want to test a new tag on mine. If I push both tags, just using git push dash f tags, they don't run. I hate that so much, because then I have to make a new tag.
If you push multiple tags at once, GitHub Actions won't pick them up?
That's what I've seen in the past. Yeah.
Huh? Okay.
It
As
might
much as I
be a
like GitHub
different
Actions, it's still flaky. They took like
Yeah.
1 year to release it since they announced it. They announced it on that event. I forget the name. And then it took like a year for them to release to the public, and it's still kind of flaky, but I think it's probably the most used CI server these days, so it's...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they get away with it. And I remember their documentation has changed so much since I first found out about them. Like everything runs in a totally different way now.
Not the least of which is the file format, which used to be its own language, and it's now YAML.
Yeah.
Okay. Meanwhile, are we forgetting something? While we are looking at the build here, instead of just looking at the progress bar, I will go over the architecture support once again, just to make sure. So we are not doing the cross compilation. Well, we are for macOS ARM, and so this is all about cross compiling. Okay, and just from your notes, I don't think you would forget anything since you wrote most of these, but
Yeah, I put in like an overview at the very bottom of the PR of where it was at before we started doing this. Yeah, you just passed it, but I think we addressed everything.
Yeah.
One more comment up.
No.
No, up. The other way.
Up.
One
Okay.
previous comment.
Okay.
Yeah, where I laid out all the features and the special
So
considerations
compile
in future.
using a GitHub Actions workflow, 64, ARM 6, 7, and 8, test the stubs in the environment that they were built. Well, in the environment in the sense that it will be the same platform and architecture, but it will be even better because it will not have a Go compiler just laying around for whatever reason. Report the SHAs. Yeah, that's something we can look at. I mean,
Yeah.
we have already a build that succeeded, and we have the checksums file, but we didn't look at what is there. So let's check the checksum. Yeah, looks good to me. ARM 64, Win32 and Linux 64, 6, and 7. Sounds about right.
Mm-hmm.
It was released, Felipe said on the chat. Yay! Let's look at the GitHub release. Check the fork releases page. Yes, I am there. So the checksums...
52, right there.
We have all the binaries.
Mm-hmm. And then you can manually edit the release in the top right. You can add notes or whatever.
I could, yeah. If it was my version of it, I could.
Yeah. Oh, I guess it's only on mine. So when it's on yours, you can do that. That's why I tend to do drafts, is because we like to put release notes in before we publish it.
Yeah, I will not do that for Caxa because this is... The fact that we even have a release on Caxa is just a way for us to distribute the stubs. It's not like people will look at this. They will probably check the README and look for a changelog or a changelog file. And that's where we'll keep the release notes. So the GitHub releases will... Yeah, it will be just empty every time. The notes for the GitHub releases will be empty every time. Okay. Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap this up?
No, I'm glad that we got this pulled through. It's been a couple months in the making.
Mostly my fault, but I was making other people happy. Like Fernando, who is using some of my Reaper stuff. So, okay. We have pushed everything. Can I click the button?
I would make sure it's squashing.
Oh, you want to squash all the commits into a single one?
Oh, yeah. There's a ton of them. And most of the messages are empty, so it'd be good to have one single commit that describes what's going on.
I mean,
well,
did you look at the rest of the commit history?
Yeah, that's not great.
Okay. It's your pull request. I will make you happy. I will squash. It's not my habit. I don't usually do it, because I don't care about the Git history all that much. But let's do it. So I have the latest. I can Git rebase interactive. Can I do this using Visual Studio Code?
You can do it on the pull request page itself. If you just do the click down on the squash or on the merge button, cancel that, and then the squash and merge. Yeah.
I learned something now. Okay.
Makes it super easy.
Okay, so since it's that easy, I may be doing that in the future. So add stubs compilation workflow. And that is okay. And this, I think it's
those are the
nice to
individual
mention
commit
this.
messages.
I won't mention that it closes or anything, because it doesn't really close. We still have to do the JavaScript part, but we can do this. How about that?
Sure, that looks good to me.
Merge attempt failed.
Oh no!
Head branch was modified. By whom?
Head branch.
Was it because I merged master and didn't rebase?
Yeah, it could have been that. I can reset the whole thing.
But if that was the case, why would GitHub give me an option to try again? If that is the problem, it will always fail. Oh no, it was just a temporary failure. It merged. It merged. That is awesome. It. Okay. Thank you all for coming to the chat and hanging out with us. Thank you so much, Matt, Felipe, Lauren, everyone else who joined and didn't say anything on the chat. I know you are there because I have the count of concurrent viewers. So thank you all. And this has been a lot of fun for me.
It was a lot of fun for me too.
Yeah. Can you please plug again for people who are watching just this final version, since it is the climax? Can you please plug the Dungeon Revealer again?
Right. So I am a maintainer on a web app called Dungeon Revealer. It's a self-hosted app for playing tabletop role-playing games. You can upload a map that your players are supposed to explore, and as they're exploring around, you just reveal certain sections of the map. You can put tokens on. You have monsters and dice rolling. So it's really there to be a very simple way to play dice rolling games with your friends, and it's exploded in popularity since the pandemic started because everyone was looking for alternatives for how to do this.
And it
Um,
looks super nice too. I like the way this looks.
mhm, yeah, it's we really focus on trying to be simple and sleek. Like all the other commercial alternatives are so mind-bogglingly dense and there are just toolbars everywhere and you never know how to actually put anything on the map. This is really trying to be super simple.
Do you spend more time playing tabletop games using Dungeon Revealer or maintaining Dungeon Revealer?
Definitely maintaining it because open source is my other hobby. So when I'm not playing with my friends, I'm working on it.
Yeah, and what games do you play with Dungeon Revealer?
You can do D&D or Dungeons and Dragons, which is the most popular one, but it's completely system agnostic. You can play any kind of role-playing game you want, if as long as you have an image that you want to show people. There you go.
Yeah,
That's
but
it.
you, Matt, what do you play with your friends?
I played Dungeons and Dragons for the longest time, and I've been trying to explore other systems now. So I've gotten into the weirder systems, such as Troika or Powered by the Apocalypse, and they're weird. Like Troika is it's like sci-fi fantasy, and all the classes are really weird. Like one of them, you can literally just be a swamp cleric. Like you're just a priest of toads, and your special ability is that you can drink dirty water and not get sick, and you smell a lot. So I've been trying to get into the more eclectic things that spur the imagination a little bit more.
That is awesome.
Mhm.
Okay, and one of the features of Dungeon Revealer is that it is super easy to install. So even if you are
Mhm.
not a huge Node.js developer or Go developer or Python developer or
Mhm.
a Fortran developer, you're not a developer at all, and you want to run this on your machine, maybe a Raspberry Pi that is plugged into your TV, it's super easy to do. You can do it using Docker if you already know how to use that, or you can just download a single file that you click on it and it runs, and then you have
Mhm.
your local
Soon to be
server.
using caxa.
And it's not using caxa right now, but it will soon. Soon enough, it will be using
Mhm.
caxa. I remember you saying that the pull request is already somewhere here, right? It's just
Yes.
pending.
Yeah. It's probably near the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, there.
So
I made that
that's
when I first learned about you, and it's just waiting for the ARM stuff.
yeah, because you want to make sure that it works on Raspberry Pis. You have a couple
Mhm.
Raspberry Pis, and you use them for this, or do you do other things with Raspberry Pis?
No, I do other things with my Raspberry Pis, like playing games or watching movies. It's like the computer that I attach to my TV that does everything.
RetroPie?
Yeah, yeah, I do some of that. We actually have a community, like a community highlights kind of thing in our wiki, and you can actually see the TV that people have attached this to, and other projects that do it. So on the sidebar, you should see community showcase. Yeah, at the bottom. Yeah, so that's
So
the TV I was telling you about. So they have a Raspberry Pi connected to the TV. People put their miniature figurines on top of the TV, and then he controls it with an iPad.
that is super nice, and it's portable too.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. So this is the reason why we need ARM support is because people are doing this.
Yeah, definitely. We will have ARM support. I was planning on having ARM support this week, but we did such a sophisticated job on the build that it took longer. But
Mhm.
we will have it next week. Next week. So IDDQD, I can never say this the first try. IDDQD Sound joined us and said, "Oh, made it too late, but you can join us next week, and I will be working on TypeScript, the other half of this ARM and support endeavor. And all the links for Dungeon Revealer and Caxa and all the other things like Matt's GitHub profile are in the doobly-doo. And yeah, let's get out of here. Thank you all for coming. Thank you so much, Matt. You did an incredible job with this pull request, and it was such a pleasure to have you here on the stream this week. You are always welcome to join us to maybe work on Dungeon Revealer, which is a Node.js project. I know you are not working on that part of the project, but if you have something on Dungeon Revealer that you want to bring into a stream that is also nice, I am all about open source and pairing with people. So
Absolutely,
you are always welcome back on the show. All right, thank you all. You can support me by subscribing to the channel, by going to Patreon and PayPal. You can also support Dungeon Revealer, right?
Just me. We don't have one set up for Dungeon Revealer, the organization, yet, but I do have a personal copy.
Okay, so you can support Matt's work as well. And yeah, I wish you all a good weekend. Thank you all for coming. I see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye, everybody.